I'll take a question from the chat and combine it with one of my questions actually. That we have been observing in multiple teams. I've worked with multiple teams, and it's hard to collaboration between the design vertical and the other verticals of uh, the same company. And as you have been in the industry for so long, do you think this has been the same for that long time, or it is a continuous process for every company, or how has it changed? How should
Actually,
we deal with it?
10 years
Yeah.
ago, you fought against the current. You fought
Mhm.
your manager, you fought your CEO, you fought your client, and you fought your developers. Right? That's how it
Mhm.
used to be. A designer's job was 100% evangelism,
Mhm.
and then over that there may be 10% of design, but 100% evangelism for sure. Whatever you design,
Mhm.
you got to sell to all of the stakeholders, right?
Mhm.
So what we designers have learned and incorporated into a process called design thinking is the
Mhm.
fact that if you align all of those people together, if you
Yeah.
bring all of those people together towards an outcome, then
Mhm.
it's much better as they walk together when they're aligned, right?
Mhm.
So let us say that let me give you a little story, right? So one of my CTOs, I used to work in a product organization, and one of my chief technical officers used to tell me कि आप तो ये सारा दिन घड़े बनाते रहते हो और घड़े हमको दे देते हो भरने के लिए, और फिर कभी भी आके घड़ा तोड़ देते हो, बोलते ये नहीं बनेगा, कुछ और बनेगा, you know. So
Very relatable.
right,
Yeah.
so a lot of the technical people, when they work on something, and when a designer working in true iterative mode goes to them and says, I found out through evaluative research that this red banner doesn't work, right? So
Yeah.
they got to turn around and tell you, why did you make it red in the first place?
True.
And that happens all the time. It
It does.
happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
So there's this mentality of being first time right that everybody expects you to be, and whereas that's not the expectation from design at all.
Mhm.
The expectation from design is to be agile, flexible, and iterative enough to be able to change garb or change position or change outcomes
Yeah.
with just a pivot, right? So
Yes.
we designers have to work in that kind of a mindset. But whereas other people, when they look at you, a lot of different parts of the organization have less respect for certain things. So, for example, the technical team would have very less respect for iterativeness,
Okay.
right? Where
Yeah.
का बनाओगे मटका फोड़ोगे, मटका बनाओगे मटका फोड़ोगे, कब काम करेंगे हम लोग,
Yeah.
right?
My
Then
product manager must be laughing right now. She's watching this. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
so and a CEO would would say, we have all the insights,
Yeah.
I don't need to do research, I'll
Yes.
give you the insights, you sit with me for one day, I'll give you the insights, I'll tell you what to make also,
Yeah.
you know. And those are the people that you have to sit with and really understand, because see what design thinking does, and you see, design thinking runs like a thread through everything I do,
Mhm.
right? So what design thinking does is that it unlocks stakeholder insights, and it teaches you how to take stakeholders along, and that's how the industries has changed, and
Mhm.
that's how people have come together to build things, right?
Correct.
So for example, when you sit with a CEO and a CEO tells you, मैं आपको बताता हूँ, 1 घंटे में बता दूंगा क्या बनाना है, right?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
take that from them. You sit with the data architect,
Mhm.
and you take from him what are the requirements, the data requirements that they have to be able to build the insights that they want to build in the background. You sit with the technology architect to understand what are the limitations within what you're working. Technology depends a lot on the material that we work with, right? And an artist
Correct.
will always know their material well,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So if you work with a sculptor, the sculptor will know their stone well, they know their clay well, etc.
Soil. Yeah.
Exactly. So you got to know your material well, right? And
Yeah.
how do you get to know your material? You get to know your material by working with your tech team, by understanding what the tech team is bringing in, and what are those, what are those constraints that they're bringing to
Yeah.
the table with each kind of technology that you're using. And then you bring all that together
Yes.
with user insights, with
Yeah.
primary user insights as well, with secondary user insights as well. And that's quant data, right?
Yes.
Quant data that you collect from the market that actually validates a lot of the primary insights that you have, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, a primary insight may tell you that users don't understand the term escrow, for instance,
Hmm.
right? And if you're using escrow as a word within your form, then that insight may not be, then you may not be, bringing that insight into your work, and thus making it easier for the user, right? And those small tactical stuff is what you find out during primary research.
Research.
Also, in primary research, you also find a lot of pain points, motivations, barriers, etc. Also, but
Hmm.
you also find these small tactical things which are extremely important, right? And that's what primary data brings in. And then secondary data will tell you that users have been dropping off on this form where escrow is a field,
Okay.
right? And that's
Yeah.
how you triangulate it. That's
Hmm.
how you triangulate data, right? So you bring in all kinds of data and you work with it. You work with it um, to create alignment between the stakeholders. So because the CEO story is also in there,
Hmm.
and because the developer story is also in there, and the data architect story is also in there, and the user story is also in there,
Hmm.
when you bring all of those stories together and you weave a solution from it,
Hmm.
everybody ends up aligned because their voice has been heard,
Correct.
right? And that's what really makes the difference between 10 years ago, where we used to design in a cubicle and then go to developers to say ye bana do,
Hmm.
and or we used to go to CEOs and say this is what you need, right? And there we had to do a lot of evangelism. We had to make them understand why, because every human being needs to understand why, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what design thinking allows you to do is to weave stories from the insights that you get, right? And the insights and the sources for the insights are not just primary data, but it's also secondary data. It's also it's also internal stakeholder insights, because internal stakeholders, um, it's also a matter of respect. It's a matter of giving them enough respect, right?
Correct.
People don't listen to designers because they feel designers don't give them a lot of respect. And design thinking is what really allows you to do that. It allows you to unlock the insights that stakeholders have been carrying with them for years and years and years. Somebody who's been working in the insurance industry for 20 years will
Hmm.
always have more knowledge than I, who will enter the industry and conduct some secondary primary analysis and then therefore be able to take that forward, right? So
Yeah.
I need to pick those. I need to be able to use those in my solutioning as well, in my designs as well.
Correct.
And that's how you align these people. And that's really the difference between 10 years ago and today, that
Yeah.
we've learned to align people.